Hey guys, it's Dr. Delvena, the queen of brain love. You know we are back. We do this once a month at the LA Lee YMCA Mizell Community Center. We have a live broadcast, a live mental health event. Tonight, the topic is aging, anti-aging, aging gracefully. By 2050, the number of people aged 60 years or older will nearly double from 12% to 22%. So we're discussing this so we can give everyone all the tools that they need to age into their later years and do it in a healthy, graceful manner. Are you ready to take the couch?
Brain love really needs to be felt. Serve me on, don't make me feel on myself. Brain food, brain sleep, neurology health. Brain love on me. I need you to assess, diagnose, and treat. Reveal what's underneath. Some brain love will give me peace. Prescribe me something, doc. Ooh, baby. Brain love on me. Brain love. Yes. Brain love. Yes. Brain love.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rick Party introducing my friend and board-certified psychiatrist, the host of the Brain Love Podcast, Dr. Delvena.
Hey. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for being here this evening. I'm so happy and so pleased to see everyone came out. I know that you could be anywhere, but you were driven to come here. You probably listened to that inner voice, as I do so much, being covered in the blood. And so when you listen to the voice, it directs you and tells you exactly what you need to do. So I'm Dr. Delvena Thomas, a board-certified psychiatrist. I have a private practice here in South Florida. The practice is called DRT, Behavioral Services, Brain Love, and we have a 501c3 called the DRT Brain Love Foundation. Back in 2020, Mother's Day, during the pandemic, I listened to my voice again because this voice does not lead me astray. And my voice told me to create a podcast. It was a pandemic, and all of us were going through some challenges, and people who didn't notice their mental health and wellness previously, they were seeing it and they were noticing it during the pandemic. And I wanted to be able to get my voice out to everyone and share information because we're missing so much basic information about our health and wellness, not just physical wellness, but our mental wellness as well. And especially in my community, in the Black community. And we know we need it because our babies have been killing themselves. Suicides amongst Black boys and girls has gone up. So there's longitudinal studies since 2007 that's showing our children have been killing themselves more than ever before. Now, the podcast has been on every podcast platform since 2002, since May. There's a new episode every Sunday night, and whatever funds are generated from the podcast, it goes to support our foundation. What does the foundation do? Well, the foundation is used to help people fill in the financial gaps who want to access mental health care. Because oftentimes people don't have insurance, or they have insurance, but to get insurance, they have to select a plan with a high deductible. They can't afford the deductible. Sometimes they can't afford a copay. Sometimes things get so bad for some of our patients, they'll tell us, I can't afford my $20 copay today. And as long as our patients tell us, we assist them, we waive the copay, or we pull from the foundation because this is the Lord's work. This is what he wants us to do. You have to pay into the circle, you have to provide into the circle, and you don't think about what you'll get back, you think about what you're giving because you'll always get fed when you give. So last year in June, I decided to partner with the YMCA to provide a live mental health event. So that way people could come together, see experts on stage, talk to these experts, ask the questions, hear the information, and make it entertaining. So that's what we've been doing now since June 2023, last year. So we're coming up on a year, and it's been a good time. Clap your hands if you've been here before for a show. And, you know, it costs money to do stuff. And I'm always, whenever we have a show, I send out emails begging people for money. And I begged and begged, and AARP said, here you go. So tonight's event is powered by AARP South Florida. This is why it's free, because they pay the bills, because the food is not free, you know, setting up and having the facility and bringing folks to assist, it's not a free thing. So AARP made it available, and some folks are here tonight from AARP, and I'd like to introduce the first person, which is Mrs. Dion Polite. She's the Director of State Operations. Let me flip the page. Maybe I'll make enough money to get a teleprompter at some point in time. Somebody want to donate one? So Mrs. Dion Polite is responsible for managing AARP Florida's teams that are focused on statewide outreach and community education, like this. These are efforts to engage, introduce, reconnect, and build relevance through various educational opportunities, advocacy, legislative efforts, and cultural experiences, which is this. Happy Black History Month, by the way. So please come up, Mrs. Polite.
I love that you say Mrs. Polite. Thank you, Dr. D. Hi, everybody. So I actually had some notes prepared, but I think I'm just going to relax a little bit and talk from the heart. And I want to say that this effort was actually created, this partnership, by someone on my team who really does not like the spotlight, but I'm going to just ask her to stand up and wave. Her name is Yvette Martinez. Yvette Martinez is the Associate State Director for all efforts that happen here in South Florida. She's an incredible person. She also happens to be one of my very dear friends. When I moved to Florida 8 years ago, I realized that I needed somebody in my corner. I'd come from AARP New York, and I called her. She hates when I tell this story, but I called her and I begged and I said, please, I need you here with me. I can't do it by myself. Our office is in Doral, and I realized that I had a challenge in that the staff that I inherited in Doral all were Spanish dominant. And I know how to curse in Spanish, but that's about it. And that's not going to get you very far with the work that I'm charged to do. So Yvette came, and she's been here 6 years, and she is an incredible part of the great team that we have across the state, and I'm very, very grateful to her. Thank you. So what I want to say, and I'm going to be short and sweet, is that mental health is real. And mental health, particularly in communities of color, is real. I admire Dr. Delvena so much because she allows us to have these authentic conversations about just this, right? The challenges that we as people of color face day to day, and how we learn, or how we need to learn, to balance all the things that we have to balance in order to show up the way we are expected to show up. It's not easy. And it's so great to be able to have conversations about how we can move forward powerfully, because we are people that come from royalty. And sometimes, because we are burdened with so many things, whether it's socioeconomics or society or finances or whatever it is, we're all dealing with some burden. And to be able to have a conversation that's authentic and transparent and allow us to feel whole at the end of it is so important. It's one of the reasons AARP has a mission tag that is, we are your wise friend and fierce defender. And this is one of the reasons why this makes sense, because, you know, aging is a part of that, right? And when you put aging into the mix, besides everything else, living in Florida and everything else, it's a challenge, right? And AARP Florida is really interested in empowering, engaging, educating, enlightening, and enriching the lives of those that are 50 and over, and even those that are not yet 50, so that they understand that we're actually their wise friend and their fierce defender. So I am excited about the conversation that's going to take place this evening. Our state president is here. He's an amazing human being as well. And And I know Dr. Delvena will talk more about that. But thank you so much for being here. If you guys have any questions, I'm here. Yvette's here. Ken's here. And enjoy.
Everyone's good with the mics? Okie dokie. So, this question is for all of the panelists. What happened as you aged, or what are you noticing now with the aging process? Let's start with Mr. Thomas.
I would really love to hear it come across from the other end because I'm seeing remedies already, and I'd love to. Can I disrupt your plan?
You may do what you like. This is our panel.
Okay,
You want to punt it?
punt.
Okay. Dr. Powell, what did you notice with aging?
Ooh, child. It's a struggle bus. And I have to say that with aging, I'm now 57 years old. And thank you, my love. And what I found was there's no forgiveness after 40. And there's definitely no forgiveness after 50. And what I mean by that is everything counts. I often tell people who are, as you said, not using, abusing, or misusing their bodies that before 40, you make deposits. You make deposits. You work out, you exercise, you eat right, and you're making all of these deposits. And then something happens after 40 where, oh, I'm tired. And you stop being consciously aware of what you're eating. You stop being consciously aware of what you're doing. And so you end up making withdrawals till you're almost bankrupt. And we see that with aging of our skin, our nails, our teeth, a lot of neglect with the teeth. We see in my practice weight coming on in the abdomen area. Guilty here, you notice I have a nice little shawl right over the abdomen. You know what I'm saying? You know how that works. And you start seeing more of the weight showing up around the abdomen and the lower legs after 40 and going into your 50s. And so everything counts. And that's what I notice. Whether I sleep or I don't sleep, it matters. You know, if I don't eat healthy, it shows up with bloating or gas. So everything matters.
Thank you. So, Dr. Lopez.
One thing that I have noticed as I am getting older is that everything hurts. my
Okay.
my knees hurt all the time, and my lower back gives me a fit every so often. What I have done though, I just keep plowing through. I I'm not recommending that anyone does this, but this is what works for me. I take some ibuprofen, some Tylenol, and I continue with my day. I continue to exercise on a regular basis. I run, I ride my bicycle, I walk, I do upper body strengthening on a regular basis, even if I have mild pain. I don't let pain stop me. So I continue going on. But that's one thing that I have noticed. The other thing that I have noticed is that my sleep quality has decreased. The older you get, the more sins you have committed and the more guilty your conscience feels.
I like Dr. Lopez very much.
And by the way, he is a full bird in the Army Reserve. He is still in. He is a full bird, '06. Thank you. Let's see. So, Dr. Love, what differences in how you feel or how you think have you noticed with your aging?
Well, I turned 74 in November. And Chinese
What day
medicine.
they're asking? What day?
November 4. You're the 5th. All right.
Oh, birthday buddy.
Okay. And I'm a couple years older than you. And I want to say what he did was extremely difficult to talk through all those exercises. Because I do most of the exercises that he does, I do them, and it's really hard to talk. So big ups on the breath. Okay. Now, Chinese medicine is called the science of longevity. And I went to acupuncture school in Montreal, Canada at the age of 32. And I started doing Qigong when I was 35. So I had COVID in September of 21. And it hit me neurologically to the point where I could barely walk, I could barely stand up. My wife had no pity on me whatsoever. She
Raise
said,
your hand,
"You
wife."
better," she said, "you better stand up and walk and marry an old man." And she motivated me to get it going again. And a year later, November 2022, I felt no effects of COVID. I have no joint pain. I have no back pain. I have no headaches. And I can party like a rock star better than people 20 years younger than me. And I attribute that to, number one, Qigong. Number two, no coffee, no alcohol, no vaping, no drugs, and consistent moving. Now, I have never slept more than 6 hours a night in 33 years. And everybody says, you gotta get 8 hours. 6 hours is not enough.
Including me, I say that. Yes, sir.
And guess what I found out?
What'd you find?
If you meditate for 30 minutes twice a day, that's worth 4 hours of sleep.
Okay. All right.
So
Dropping
meditation
gems. Dropping
is the
gems.
key. So
Meditate. Wait. Emphasis. Meditation is the key. So if you're sleeping 6 hours, 5 hours, but you don't meditate, you don't belong in this category. So I hear some of y'all yelling out, but if you don't meditate, this doesn't apply to you. Okay? Okay. Go ahead,
So the
doctor.
last thing I want to tell you, if you plan on living past 80, you have to spend a year with me, and I'll make sure you're having sex at 90.
That's for later, doctor. I'm saving that question for later. Thank you. Dr. Love is in his house. All right, Mr. Thomas, can I go back to you? Because we've pretty much described aging, what it feels like to us, what some of us are doing. I want to talk about AARP, right? Because Mrs. Polite mentioned that you don't have to be at a certain age to join AARP. That's a myth. So what are the benefits of joining, and can all of us in the room join?
Each and every one of you should belong to AARP. You really can.
Including the people in their 40s and 30s.
We have college students who are members because they love the benefits. The discounts at the Denny's, the free coffees. Sorry, Dr. Love, they still want their coffee. But AARP is really devoted to helping everyone choose how they live as they age. And that's the conversation that's taking place here. I really wanted to hear, I'm sorry. go
Sir,
ahead.
I'm sorry. I thought every time I saw AARP discount, I didn't qualify. I could have received discounts in these restaurants, and
You should have
I
called
am
your
so
cousin a little
upset.
earlier.
I missed
I
my
just found out a
discount all
couple of
these
months
years.
ago. They're secret, but you got to go to AARP to find a list of restaurants and grocery stores and drugstores, get all those discounts.
Just like everyone else, we have an app for that. It's called AARP now. But the importance of choosing how you live as you age is what makes the difference in aging. Having someone predetermine what you should be like, what you should act like. I saw the amazement in the audience when Eric was doing his yoga. I saw the participation with Dr. Love. You know, how many folks expected a gentleman almost 70 years old being able to be that flexible? Aging isn't what people describe it as being. You choose how you live as you age. It doesn't look the same for everyone. We all age differently. I wish I could age the way some of the folks up here on the stage did. But, you know, genetics has a role, but everything that's been talked about up here is so important in helping your body age properly, as well as your mind. And I'm sure we're going to talk more about that.
Right, and that's the perfect segue back to Dr. Lopez. Dr. Lopez, is it true that as we age, we become more forgetful, or is that an urban myth?
It is partly an urban myth. Age, certainly, the older we get, the more likelihood we'll develop dementia and cognitive impairment. But for the most part, I think that a healthy individual who is in their 80s or 90s can still have a good memory and good cognitive health. So I think that for the most part, it is a myth.
Thank you. Now, next, if you could tell us, what is dementia?
Dementia, well, let me first say that there we have many cognitive domains. We call them cognitive domains. Memory is one of them, but judgment is another one. Reasoning is another one. Orientation meaning the ability of find ourselves in our different surroundings and environments. Calculations, the ability to subtract and add and multiply and such in our minds. There are multiple cognitive domains, and dementia means the progressive loss of two or more cognitive domains. Memory is probably the most important one, but there are other ones. The ability to speak, for instance. But most people say that when they have dementia, most people will refer to the loss of memory, but that's not the only cognitive domain. The other important thing to mention is that the progressive loss of these cognitive domains has to interfere with the individual's daily living. So if I forget my keys in my office, which happens regularly, I lock my office, walk out to the parking lot, get there, and then I find that my keys are not in my pocket. I had to come to the hospital and have security open my office. That happens not regularly, but it happens every so often. Every so often, I leave my badge inside the office or something like that. But that doesn't interfere with my life, other than having to come back to the office from the parking lot. Other than that, I'm okay. I can do my job. I can still serve in the military. I can take care of my patients. I can do everything else. That is not a memory problem and doesn't interfere with my life. That's distractibility. I get distracted. That's inattentiveness, which is not the same than memory problems.
Can I say something about memory?
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Lopez. Yes, sir.
I took a memory course in high school, and I took another memory course in college. And you're never too old to take a memory course. So that's something you can do now. 80% of your memory is stored in the temporal lobe of your brain. If you do 20 seconds of friction over the temporal lobe of your brain twice a day, you will not lose your memory, because it all depends on blood flow to that part of the brain.
Thank you for that. Anything to add to that, Dr. Powell or Dr. Lopez, to what Dr. Love just mentioned?
Not for me.
Dr. Powell?
I'll give a brief story, really quick story, and it's a real story. While I was in residency, my aunt started having some memory difficulties. She would travel I'm from Jamaica. She traveled from Jamaica back and forth. She used to buy for the airlines. So we were used to seeing her come every month. You know how Jamaicans are. They get them barrel together and then put all the things on the barrel and load it up and take it back to the plenty things. And we noticed that when she was coming, she was always looking for different things that she had forgotten that she had packed. Fast forward, I'm in residency, and the family said, hey, we want you to take a look at her because she just seemed to be forgetting more and more. Well, we took her into see a neurologist at that time, and we found out they did a simple test, put the numbers on the face of a clock. Very simple, it seemed like a simple test. Put the numbers on the face of a clock. And she put all the numbers on one side of the clock. And fast forward, in less than 5 years, we could not leave her alone in the house because she would wander out of the house, or she'd wander in different. And I bring this up because she was only my age, 57 at the time. And it progressed rapidly to where she would have to be taught to, we would have to put her into a car and put the seatbelt on because she forgot how to put a seatbelt on. And I bring that up because while we're talking about dementia and its progression, there may be people in your life that you may be taking, oh, I'm losing my keys, I forgot my keys, where's my glasses? And those might be just stress factors. But there may be people in your life that are doing a little bit more than that. And just pay attention to them. And it's okay to say, hey, let's get it checked out. Because the earlier there's intervention, the better will be for them.
So, yeah, go ahead, clap it up for her. So that's a good transition to talk about risk factors for dementia. If you and Dr. Lopez, if you guys want to discuss some risk factors or things that we can do differently to reduce the likelihood of developing dementia. And you guys probably heard Dr. Lopez say that there's several different types of dementia. Most people know Alzheimer's, or it's Alzheimer's, but people will say Alzheimer's, but it's Alzheimer's. That's one type of dementia. But there's several other types of dementia, like alcoholic dementia. There's vascular dementia. There's several different types of dementia. And Wendy Williams was diagnosed recently with frontotemporal dementia. So what are some risk factors we have to consider, Dr. Lopez?
For dementia in general?
Yes, sir.
So the most common type of degenerative dementia, the dementia that people get out of the blue, is Alzheimer's disease. And science has found, as of late in the last maybe 10, 15 years, that the same risk factors for cardiovascular disease and stroke, such as high blood pressure, uncontrolled diabetes, high cholesterol, cigarette smoking, and such, can also provoke a similar clinical picture to Alzheimer's disease. So if people want to avoid, to some extent, getting dementia, they should just take care of their bodies in general, avoid harmful substances such as tobacco and excessive alcohol intake, and just common sense lifestyle changes, such as keeping your body weight under control and exercising regularly. If you have high blood pressure, then modify your diet, and the same thing can be said about diabetes and high cholesterol and such. So those are some of the risk factors that can provoke vascular dementia, but also has been seen in patients who have Alzheimer's disease. On the other hand, if the individual is going to get Alzheimer's disease, even with good diet and exercise and such, although Alzheimer's disease and vascular dementia share similar risk factors, sometimes even if you take care of yourself, you're still going to get dementia. Another thing that has been touted in the media is solving puzzles and these type of things. That only has limited value. Doing crossword puzzles and Sudoku and that type of things
Listen,
help,
don't do
but
that,
only
please,
only
Dr.
have
Lopez.
limited value.
Yes, but they have some value. Reading and
Yes,
crossword puzzles and
yes,
word searches. Yes.
yes. It has some value.
We have this
Yes.
debate all the time. Okay. So let's see. I think, Chaz, are you up there? Could you pull up the Wendy Williams video for me? Because, yeah, I'm sorry, I do. Okay, thank you.
The
Yeah.
latest on Wendy Williams. Her care team has now revealed that she's been diagnosed with aphasia and dementia. The news comes just days before the release of a new documentary about her struggles. Eva Pilgrim here with the story. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning, George. There have been so many questions over the past few years about Wendy Williams' condition. This morning, some answers.
Let me tell you something. I don't know who I've become, but I like her.
This morning, the devastating health update for daytime talk show icon Wendy Williams. Her care team revealing in a statement Thursday that she's been diagnosed with primary progressive aphasia and frontotemporal dementia, also known as FTD. Her team saying she is receiving the care she requires to make sure she is protected and that her needs are addressed.
When I saw her, she didn't have to say one thing. I knew that every cylinder is not firing the way it should.
Aphasia affects a person's ability to communicate, how they express and understand language. FTD is the most common form of dementia for people under the age of 60.
Frontotemporal dementia is sort of not your average dementia. It affects behavior like decision-making, personality, impulse control, and then it also affects communication skills.
Alex Finney, Wendy's niece and anchor for ABC affiliate WPLG, speaking exclusively to our Deborah Roberts about the 59-year-old possibly having dementia.
Does that make sense to you that she has dementia?
So what I will say is it does make sense that she definitely cognitively has some things that are off. But the aunt that I hear when I'm on the phone with her now, months later, I don't hear that same Wendy.
I have no idea where we are. This doesn't look like anything familiar.
I think she's losing memory. Have you guys noticed that?
These new details about Wendy's health coming amid explosive headlines around the upcoming Lifetime docuseries, Where is Wendy Williams?
I miss my family.
Some people are going to look at this and say, this is exploitation. She's being exploited. How could they do this?
But I will say this, first and foremost, my aunt is the executive producer of this documentary. And when I finally talked with her and I said to her, Aunt Wendy, why do you want to do this? You know, you're clearly the health piece, all of that has to be addressed. Is now the right time? And she said, now is the perfect time because I want to take ownership of my story.
My real name is Wendy Hunter.
Hunter.
Yep. And I'm divorced.
The series taking an intimate look at Wendy's cognitive decline and recent struggles with sobriety.
So you think you're perfectly fine having as many drinks as you want?
Perfectly.
Okay. But I'm just gonna put it downstairs to keep it cool.
Keep it there.
Okay.
Keep it there.
Wendy's mental state even being cited in a 2022 Wells Fargo petition to the New York Supreme Court. The judge appointing an outside guardian to manage her finances and her life. And overnight, TMZ reporting that guardian allegedly filed suit against Lifetime's parent company, A&E Networks, under seal just 2 days before the documentary is released. And while the family doesn't know where she is physically, Finney says she feels comforted being able to speak with her aunt again.
I haven't seen her in a really long time, but I finally am talking to her regularly, and our conversations are beautiful.
And their goal in sharing her story, raising awareness about these conditions. You know, this is the same type of dementia that Bruce Willis was diagnosed with. So hopefully the two of them talking about this will really bring this to the forefront of a lot of people's minds.
Wow, it's tough. All right, thank you so much for that, Eva.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here.
All righty, so let's shift gears for a second because everyone has mentioned physical activity, physical fitness, our diet, our nutrition. Titus, what can you share with us in terms of the foods that we eat? Give us some examples of foods to buy in the grocery store. What should folks be buying to take care of themselves, to help with their brains, their memory, in hopes of, I know Dr. Lopez, you mentioned that word searches and crossword puzzles will only do so much, and he and I talk about this a lot. You've also shared with me, Dr. Lopez, that my brain love foods, the blueberries and the sweet potatoes, you don't believe in that too much, but...
No, actually I do.
Say again?
I do. Okay. I believe in that. I eat lots of blueberries.
Okay. Okay.
I love them.
Titus,
yeah,
what are we filling in our carts?
So I first want to just talk about, just nutrition again, because a lot of people really miss the boat on nutrition. When we talk about Alzheimer's, diabetes, dementia, all these things like that. We act as if these things just show up at our door. No, you develop these things. How do you develop these things? You go right back to the first thing I told you guys, nutritional deficiencies. I would urge any one of you guys, you can pull your phone out right now and type this query in, diseases related to low cholesterol. You will see on the top of that list, Alzheimer's, dementia, depression, anxiety, hormonal issues. Cholesterol in the body has a chemical reaction with UV light. That chemical reaction creates vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 controls your immune system, okay? So when you don't have certain things, there's a cascade of problems that could happen. And what does that mean? We need to go back to eating actual real food. One of the things that happens in America is that we look at America and we want to believe that 4 or 5% of the world's population is the norm for what happens medically. Look around the world. No other country is having the levels of depression, anxiety, Alzheimer's, and or dementia as America. So what's the problem? Our diet is trash, okay? Fix your diet, you fix half the problems. When you look at half the foods that they tell you not to eat, those are the very foods that actually you should eat in order to have certain functions. Where do egg whites come from? Oh, eat your egg whites. The yolk is where most of the cholesterol is. Can anybody tell me this question, answer this question? What food in nature has the highest concentration of cholesterol? Do you know that? And I guarantee just about every single one of you ate it, and not even by choice. Mother's breast milk. That's how important cholesterol is to the development of your brain. That is loaded in breast milk. Okay? Loaded. Loaded. Well, guess what? And that's where you have things like eggs, right? And all the foods that they tell you not to eat. You know, one of the things I try to do is I try to educate the people that follow me. And once again, our medical system, we have fine doctors, but it's important to understand how the medical system was built and what happens now. Because when you have a system that is a for-profit system that is being funded, and not only that, sponsored by pharmaceutical companies, well, guess what? They have mastered the art of creating disease. So when the average person realizes this, the solution wasn't invented to solve the problem. The problem was invented so they could present you with the solution. And the solution always is pharmaceuticals as opposed to what? Food. So to answer your question, if the food didn't exist before 1900, don't eat it. And I think all the doctors here can attest to this, right? That most of the diseases that we're talking about right now were not that prevalent in 1900. However, a lot of the foods that I'm talking about, raw dairy, meat, eggs, wild-caught fish, and all those things, organic fruit, those things existed. You cannot blame old foods for new diseases. You can't. Doesn't work like that. Okay?
Good point.
And so eat actual ancestral food, move your body, okay? And you will solve 95% of your problems. Look around the world, okay? Nobody's having these problems with dementia and Alzheimer's like that, okay? And even if we look at even the cholesterol lie, right, we'll find that that was orchestrated. And we see the results in our health. 70% of our nation is on prescription drugs. 75% of our nation is obese or overweight. We are the fattest and sickest developed nation on the planet, and it's not even close.
Doc, as you know, I'm a urban farmer. And so my question is, how many of us have a garden? So I have about 6 pineapples coming up right now. And those pineapples aren't going to get no bigger than this. That's a real pineapple. The thing is, back to what Titus is saying, we go to the store, we see that big pineapple. First of all, it's not ripened yet. And any fruit, basically any fruit that we buy in the grocery store has been picked before it's ripened. And the chemicals that have been added so that they can get bigger. My Brussels sprouts, were only that big. Brussels sprouts in the store are that big, right? And if you think about those other vegetables that you buy in the store. So again, my pineapples, I can't wait. They take about 1 to 2 years to produce. They don't produce every 6 months. So I actually have about 6 of them coming up right now, so I'm excited about that. Oh, yeah. Well, I might share to special friends. I think, Delvena, did you get one last year?
Yes, I did. It was very sweet.
And that's the thing, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Broccoli, I go out and break off a piece of broccoli actually is sweet. It blew my mind this year because actually last year was the first time I think I grew broccoli, and I didn't know when to actually pick it because it gets to a point it starts to flower again. So again, why is that? Because in the store, the broccoli is that big. In my garden, some of the heads aren't but that big. Some of them are larger. But again, that was me learning the process. It's same as cauliflower. So the one thing we need to do is go back to gardening. Even if it's a small planter, if you live in an apartment, or if you have a piece of yard, to go out there and dig it up and plant and grow your own food.
I got a question for Titus.
Hold on.
No, seriously. The other thing about growing your own vegetables, it's great exercise.
Yes.
It is.
Thank
You know, it's relaxing. We were talking about mental health.
That was actually one of my questions for
Okay,
you, sir. Go
so,
ahead.
you know,
I'll cross
and
it
you and
off
I
the
were
list.
talking earlier, and this is where I was going. We have people who are millionaires, billionaires, jumping off of roofs, killing themselves, not happy, not fulfilled. And we have to get to that point where, you know, the one thing about me, people will tell me, you need to act your age. No. That's
Well, what exactly does that mean?
No.
I had an introduction video for Eric from the
what that
last time that ended with Eric being the ladies' man. So
What does that have to do with
many,
anything?
Many memes.
Wait a minute, what does that have to do with?
Hugs and love, baby.
Wait a minute, what does that have? When I say
I'm
act
sorry
your
to
age.
interrupt, sir. Go ahead.
Wait a minute. So when I use that example, my grandson, who was born on November 4th, he was here. He lives in Cape Town, South Africa. So he was here for his first birthday. So I threw a couple kids in the pool. I jumped in the pool with my clothes on. What that got to do with being a ladies' man? My point is, again, it's about living your life. You don't stop living because you
And that's the
retire or
point.
you become.
You're living.
Exactly.
Being a ladies' man, you're dating actively and living. That's all I'm saying. Love is important. Hugs are important. It raises our endorphins. Holding hands, that's
over
important.
70, right? Over
Yes.
70, over 80.
Absolutely.
So anyway, back to the point that I was making. When you're growing vegetables, when you're out in your yard working, you're moving your body. You're pulling weeds. That's exercise. You're bending over. I'm bending over. I'm pulling a weed. That is exercise. So we need to get back to that. That's all I wanted to say.
I like that.
Yeah. Open up a coconut.
As long as you're doing some kind of activity, that's all that matters, you know. And to his point, even when it comes down to growing your food, Well, a lot of times I don't necessarily prescribe growing your own food, and the reason why is very simple, because everybody doesn't have the capacity to have a garden. However, what we can do is we can find our local farmers and we support them. All right, and that's why I love going to farmers markets like
Good point.
the yellow green market.
Oh, I love the yellow green farmers market.
That's my spot. So
Love the yellow.
so sometimes more
everybody know about the
practical
yellow
thing.
green farmers market.
Yeah.
If you haven't been to the yellow green farmers market, you need to go to the yellow
the
green.
best.
Ah,
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Is she from Dubs?
Okay, there you go.
All right.
Oh, okay, guys.
Okay, Sunday.
I don't remember. Spell Dubs. How was it
Let's meet
spelled?
up at Dubs on Sunday.
How was Dubs
What you
spelled?
doing? You busy?
D-U-B-S.
I can do
Okay,
that.
so
All
we are
right.
supporting Dubs, guys. We're going to support Dubs.
But that's a good point that Titus makes. You know, everyone that doesn't have the ability to grow their own, but to go
Or can't grow
or
their own.
can't grow their own.
I can kill some
I'll
stuff.
eat 6 pineapples in 2 weeks. How long it take? How long it take
Yeah,
them to grow?
you gotta have a bunch of plants. growing.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, going to the farmers market, getting fresh beets, so on and so forth. I mean, it is the best.
Okay. So, Dr. Love, you wanted to say
Okay,
something.
and now I got 2 points, if you'll allow me. In Tibetan medicine, they say the ultimate cause of disease is disconnection from source. And growing your food is connecting to source.
Right.
So if you don't grow your own food, if you don't get sunlight and fresh air, and you don't connect barefoot to the soil, you're disconnecting, and then food is your only option.
Right.
Now, the question I have for you is, how long have cattle been domesticated? 10,000 years. So to your point, you can't treat new diseases. You can't create a new disease from old food. So if cattle has been domesticated for 10,000 years, why are they anti-meat? And the answer is because they raise it wrong.
Well, that, but then also you have to realize too, they're anti-meat because the quote-unquote plant-based scheme is.
They misread the Bible. I saw your email, Titus.
Well, they didn't misread. They didn't
They
misread.
quote,
They purposely
quote certain
omitted.
parts of the Bible and omit
Right.
the parts of the Bible that states.
Yeah, well, in the Bible it
eat
says
everything
that
moving.
we give you the leaves and the leaves to heal the nation and the seeds, but then they left the vegan movement purposely left out the part where it says, and everything that moves shall be your meat. It's right there in the Bible. And not only is it right in the Bible, it's in the same verse, it's slightly down. And that's the part that sometimes I just don't like the disingenuine part. It's just like, come on. And so when it comes down even to raising the cattle, like you said, right, there is way more money that can be made off of cheap, pseudo, Franken plant-based products than a single ingredient piece of meat. Okay, and then even I don't like to knock nobody's stuff, even you vegan or whatever, but just because you're not eating the animal that gets killed, there's tons of animals that must be killed to grow broccoli, because they have to keep all the pheasants and stuff out of the fields. When they till that field, they're killing mice, they're killing everything. They're killing every single animal that comes anywhere near that for you to have your broccoli. People don't think about that, okay? So all the rodents and everything, they're killing them. So just because you're not eating what they killed does not mean you're not responsible or your food is quote. I like when they use the word cruelty-free. I love that. Like, oh, really? Oh, okay, cool. So there's a lot to be thought about when we think about movements like that, and anyway, there we go.
How would you raise beef so that it was healthy to eat?
Raise it like it used to be raised. Let it roam. That's what they do. You grass-fed beef, they create hay, and the beef. So beef and all ruminant animals, they're what we call upcyclers of nutrients. Does everybody know what that means? So a ruminant animal like a goat, a cow, you know how vegans say, well, the cow's got muscles and they eat grass, you can do the same thing. I challenge you to eat what a cow eats. But what happens when a cow eats grass or hay is that the cow has these 7 compartments in their stomach, and when it goes in, there's bacteria, and that bacteria ferments, and it upcycles into nutrients. And that's why the cow will eat the grass, upcycle that, and we eat the meat. That's why in the Bible it says everything that walks shall be your meat, because most of the food, the animals that walk, that eat the grass and all those things like that, they are upcyclers. You can feed pigs paper, literally, and they will upcycle that into nutrients. They will eat the most inedible things, chickens, right? Chickens eat garbage, and they will upcycle that. You can't do that, and that's why you eat meat.
So if you fed the cows hay instead of Purina cow chow,
right,
you could eat the cow.
Same, yeah, that's what they used to eat. They used to, well, think about it. Nobody used to feed buffalo. What is a buffalo? A buffalo is a wild cow. Cows are just domesticated buffalo and wild and things of that nature. That's all they are.
Who sells buffalo? Where can we buy this Whole Foods?
They sell bison in the.
Yeah. They sell it at Whole Foods?
I literally
So
just
can
made
we
my
come to your house for dinner and eat buffalo?
You ain't got to do that. Just stop at the Whole Foods. Look in the meat bar.
No, I want you to make it. I want to eat your food.
Bison,
All right.
you can buy bison. That's what buffalo is, bison.
Time to switch gears because we got to move on to an important piece of this this discussion. And within the realms of dementia, Dr. Powell, this question is for you. African Americans, women, talk to us about the association of African Americans with dementia and women with dementia, especially women who go into early menopause.
Oh, wow. There's a lot going on in that question. The first thing I want to say, we've not talked about something that's really significant to memory and to health, which is stress. And as we talk about the African descent population, including women, since you earmarked them, the amount of stress that impacts the health of African descent people in this country is adversely, and I say is because it's ongoing, it's adversely affecting their health. What do I mean by that? We're seeing an uprise in depression. We're seeing an uprising in suicide in young people, violence. We're seeing where as the stress is increasing, and we have to call it what it is. It's real. You know, people are struggling with economics. They're struggling with just environmental. Because of the cost of living here, especially in South Florida, we're seeing families now moving and living together so close that humans are not supposed to be so close on top of each other because it's adversely affecting their socialization and emotions. And there's a whole lot that goes into that, right? So we cannot talk about health when we don't address mental health, stress as it relates to health. And as far as women and aging and men and aging, as estrogen and the hormones shift within your body, and then you add stress to that. So you're having physiological changes, environmental changes, nutritional changes, because nutritional changes are different as you go through the life cycle. So don't think I used to eat ice cream for lunch when I was, that was my nutrition. Let me try and hug on to an ice cream cone now after 50. Girlfriend, that's gonna show up everywhere I don't want it to, you know? And so we cannot not have the conversation about the impact of stress and living in the United States as African descent people and the impact on our health, our wellness, our mental and emotional states of mind.
Thank you. And we're winding down, but I do
want to interject for 1 second.
Sure.
And not to knock what you said, like you said, you could eat ice cream when you were 20. But when you were 20, you were running hard. At 50, you're not running as hard, or probably not even at 50%. So it's a combination of things. We stopped moving. I think that is one of the biggest things besides nutrition that causes our health problems, is that we stop moving, and we have to move. I'm on my godson's case at 15 years old. He can't do 10 push-ups.
What?
Yeah.
For
Because,
PE, remember that. P's gone.
say that again?
Physical education.
Well,
PE is gone.
No, what is gone is go outside and play.
Yes, that's right.
That's what's gone. PE ain't never been about PE. It's been go outside and climb a tree, etc. And jump the fence, run over the fence, do all those things, and we don't do that anymore. They're sitting there. And so, even us as older people, we sit behind a desk, we don't move. It's really Qigong. It's about movement. You got to move your body. You got to move those internal organs. I eat ice cream. My daughters say I binge on ice cream, but I buy ice cream maybe once every 3 months. But I'll eat that half a gallon in 3 or 4 days. But that's just me. But then I won't eat it again for 3 or 4 months. But even in that, that ice cream might have been my dinner that night. But you got to put in the work.
One thing that she alluded to about, you get older, here's the thing people don't realize, and I make it very simple for people. The way how you take care of a brand new 2024 car is not how you're going to take care of a classic 1967 car.
Amen to that.
All right? As we get older, our nutritional needs actually increase. But what do most people do? They eat less and they eat worse quality. Our movement needs, right? When you sit down in that 67 car, you got to let that thing beat a little bit. But guess what? You ain't getting in your old car and just driving off. Like, no, you can't do that. The same thing with the body. You have to warm that body up. You have to take it through the motions. If you're not doing that, you're going to have problems. Me right now at 55, last year for my birthday, I challenged myself to do something I had never done before. I put 225 pounds on my back and I squatted it 50 times straight in 1 minute and 59 seconds. I have never done that before. I got stronger last year physically, squatted up to 465, and when I squat, I use no belts, no knee straps, anything like that. I got stronger last year than I had been in over the last 15 years. So the whole idea of aging, and one thing I would love to see an AARP do, is to change the narrative, because every time we talk about aging, we talk about all the bad things and how, oh, your knee gonna hurt, this gonna hurt, that gonna hurt. But what if we talk more about the inspirational things, about people making that turn?
I just had that conversation.
Showing the upside that could happen if we actually embraced new and better habits and stop clinging on to stop having these conversations like everything hurts. Well, everything hurts because you woke up in the morning when your hip was hurting and you didn't stretch. You didn't do this. You just took ibuprofen and you powered through it. No, you're not going to power through that, okay? You wake up in the morning after you eat ice cream and it went the wrong places. Well, maybe if you walked 5 days and then ate, then that would be different. Eric said he ate a whole tub of ice cream once every 3 months. But what I talk to my clients about is this. In 30 days, you eat 90 meals in 30 days, 3 meals a day. In 3 months, that's 270 meals. Who cares what he ate for 4 days? He had 266 more good meals that if he ate that would be more representative of what he looks like and what he feels like than the 4 days he ate ice cream.
Who's feeling that? I like that. Yes. Yeah. Yep, so let's hear from Mr. Thomas.
Besides just the discounts and the benefits with the AARP, where our greatest strength is the work that we do in information and for advocacy. But on the information side, we have, thanks to our CEO, Joanne Jenkins, we have a college program that we do called Disrupt Aging. And part of that talks about the contributions that we make to our community, that we make to the country as we age. And it goes on to dispel the myths. And there's a great video. I wish we had time, or I'd coordinated with Dr. Delvena to show that video, where we engage with college students and to dispel that image that they have of aging. We showed interviews with college kids and older adults, and what we compared them to were folks like Eric, where they were truly surprised at what older adults could do, and that we don't all fit that image that they have of what the aging process looks like. But I want you to be aware that we are out in the community here in South Florida and throughout the nation, really, doing information sessions on brain health, because it's not only about living longer, but it's living longer better. Right. And taking care of your brain and brain health is really important. And we go out in the community and talk about the 6 pillars of brain health. And you are all advocates up here for those 6 pillars. That's what we've already talked about today. The one other thing that hasn't been talked about very much is socialization. How important socialization is to the well-being of the brain. We are social people, social animals. We need people to be around. And one of the most devastating events over the last 4 years was the pandemic, where you said, oh, by the way, you need to separate and stay. Did you ever see that cartoon where it showed the introvert versus the extrovert? I'm that extrovert that's how I lost my hair. I pulled it all out because I could not be separated from people. I had to go to Costco's every day just to find somebody to talk to. But socialization is so important in keeping your body and your mind healthy, as well as taking the stress out of your life that you were talking about just now. But we are out in the community disrupting the image of aging. We do that on college campuses today, and we're doing it in the community with the Disrupt Aging community conversation, letting folks know how to live better as they age. And you get to choose what that looks like.
Live life like Eric has been living life.
For more brain love on the couch with board-certified psychiatrist Dr. Delvena, make sure you follow on Instagram at Dr. Delvena and at DRT Brain Love. Also, make sure you tune into the Brain Love podcast, airing each and every Sunday at 8 p.m. with a new episode on all